My full legal name is Thomas Austin Ball III.
And that's B-A-L-L?
Yes.
Okay. Now, where were you born? And when were you born? And what city and what city and neighborhood were you born?
Okay. I was born in Philadelphia, PA. The residence was 1861 North 28th Street. That's in the Strawberry Mansion section of Philadelphia.
Okay. And what year were you born in?
I was born in 1953 on this day at 6:47 p.m.
Is today your 70th birthday?
Today is my birthday. I'm 70.
Happy birthday!
I'm 70 today.
Oh, wow.
Well, I didn't know you're younger than me.
I'm trying.
So when you were born in Strawberry Mansion, John Coltrane was living nearby, right?
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He lived on, I think, 33rd Street.
Yeah.
And the house is now a historical site. There's a plaque there. Mary Alexander was his cousin, of which he wrote a tune for her, Cousin Mary. And she had a lot of concerts going on there at the time, which I was fortunate enough to perform there with my mother.
So, I'm sorry. Was your mother friends with John Coltrane at that time?
As a matter of fact, she was, and one of her first band, I have a photo in my phone of her, and there's also one at the Clef Club, where she's sitting with Mr. C, Bill Carney. I think he was the leader of the band at the time.
Yeah.
I think it was Tootie Heath and John Coltrane.
It was the High Tones.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Now, who was your father? Shirley Scott was your mother. Who was your father?
My father's name was Thomas Ball. He was a trumpet player. And from what I understand, my mother was playing cornet at the time, and she was going to Girls High. And my dad and she would do duets together, and play duets. I never knew him. He left me when I was 3 months old, but I did get a chance to meet him. He was in Boston, and he was in the hospital with cancer. I managed to have a cassette of me playing, which I took to him. And he was amazed. He said, "Is that you?" I said, "Yeah, it's me." You know. And that was the only time I did see him. Yeah.
So you didn't know him through your life?
No, I did not. All I know is he had given me a nickname. The name was Cribbit, and the reason for that name was because I kept climbing out of the crib.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, was he a musician all his life, or did he do something else?
He was a trumpet player all his life.
Oh, okay. Now, your mom, was she born in Philadelphia as well?
Yes, she was. She was born on 11th Street. I don't know the exact address, but that was way before me. And then they moved over to 1861 North 28th Street. My grandfather and my grandmother, who raised me.
Okay.
Yeah, but she was on the road with Eddie Lockjaw Davis.
Right.
So, for the sake of her career, my grandparents were my guardians.
Yeah, she was lucky. So your grandparents, were they born in Philadelphia?
No, my grandmother was from Greenville, South Carolina, I think it is.
I think so.
The family name was Turner. And coincidentally, I was born on my great-grandmother's birthday. Her name was Banny. She married a gentleman by the name of Willie Scott, who is Native American. And so we never really couldn't find out that part of the family tree. He was adopted, and he married my grandmother, and they got a house on 11th Street, and they moved up to 28th Street.
And they were your mother's parents?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go back to, since they were raising you, what age were you when you started living with your grandparents?
I was born at a women's osteopathic hospital right there at 20th and Susquehanna. It's a little brick building, and now I think it's a daycare. So as far as I can remember, I was there. That's where I was born.
Oh, okay,
and
so
raised.
you lived with them the whole time you were young?
Yes.
No, what?
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
The story goes that your grandparents ran a jazz club in the basement, right?
Well, my grandfather had a charter, and he basically was able to serve drinks and things of that nature, and they had little things going on there.
In the basement?
Yeah, but I wasn't around when that was going on.
That was before you were born?
Yes, quite.
Because your mother remembers hearing all the great musicians in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
She, in interviews, she
Yeah.
said that
Mm-hmm.
and that was in North Philly on 11th
Yes.
Street? Yeah, okay.
All right, tell me about your life with your grandparents. I mean, can you describe the street you lived on, maybe your friends, what your grandparents did, how they raised you?
Well, my grandfather, he was basically a huckster. Okay. And my grandmother, she took care of all of the financial things. She worked at Bayuck's cigar factory. And I remember every payday, she would come home with a cigar leaf and give it to my grandfather. He'd roll up a cigar. Yeah. And he basically was my guardian when she was working. But they both raised me. I never got a, how can I say? I never saw too much corporal punishment.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they didn't believe in raising their hand. One time my grandfather hit me, and he cried,
Yeah.
and that made me cry.
All right, now describe your siblings, your sisters.
Okay. I have a brother under me. His name is Everett, and his name is Yancey. For a long time, my name was Yancey. I didn't even know my true name. Mm-hmm. I have a sister, Lisa, sister Pam, and a sister, Nicole. And they were from the union of my mother and Stanley Turrentine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So.
All right, so what's the ages we have here?
Well,
you don't need to, I mean, the eldest,
Oh, Lisa, my brother is under me. He's the second.
You're the oldest.
I'm the oldest. My brother's second oldest. Lisa is third. Pamela is fourth. And Nicole is the baby. And she likes to call us the bookends. She's one end and I'm the other end.
Now, were any of your, it's going back, do you remember Stanley Turrentine living in the household, or?
Stanley did not live in the house on 28th Street.
Okay.
Stanley, when my mother and Stanley got married, after the birth of Lisa, they lived in Teaneck, New Jersey.
Oh.
And at that time, Teaneck was like the mecca for all of the recording artists from CTI and Blue Note. My brother moved with them first, and I stayed home. I didn't move to Teaneck until I was in the 7th grade.
Okay.
I was being bullied so bad.
Really?
Yeah, so Stanley came to the school and confronted the young man that was bullying me. And I guess he put the fear of God in him, you know. And they moved me out of Strawberry Mansion Junior High School and took me to Teaneck, where I went to Benjamin Franklin Junior High School. And we lived there, I'd say, for 2 years, and then moved further north in Bergen County to Haworth, New Jersey. And Bergen County at that time was the second richest county in the United States. Haworth was a town which was only 2.5 square miles. The house that we lived in, it was brand new. And I think there were only like 3 families in Haworth. And I lived on the side of the tracks with the whites. The house cost $45,000 to build. It was state of the art. It had like a built-in vacuum system where you just have to put a hose into the wall for any room. You know, we had a new tone intercom system. It was such a beautiful home, you know, and it was on a hill with an incline of like 45 degrees. So the street, Haworth Avenue, was like this, and the house was built on something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, so you were all there, do you remember the address there?
I think it was 215 Haworth Avenue.
Spell that H?
Haworth.
Oh, Haworth, okay.
So your parents were both doing well, I guess, to be able to afford?
Oh yeah, they were in their heyday then. Yeah, they were.
Her and Stanley. Right?
Yeah, they were doing quite well.
Now, did you take any music at home or at school?
When I was on 28th Street and I was in grade school, I went to Edward Gideon public school. They would have assemblies, and at the assembly they would have like a snare drum on the stage and other instruments, and if anybody felt like they wanted to go up and play, I would play, you know. And from that, the music teacher from Gideon, Miss Hines, gave me a chance to take music lessons, and I took those at Benjamin Franklin High School on, what is that? I think it was Spring Garden Street somewhere. And it was about three or 4 weeks of lessons in the summer. And from there I learned how to read drum music. My uncle, I should mention, my uncle, my mother's oldest brother, his name was T.L., he was the one that taught me a lot about theory, how to write music. I took piano lessons under my grandmother's instruction. She wanted me to take piano. So I took piano lessons and I learned to read and play. So that helped me with my composition.
All right, was your uncle a full-time musician too?
He was a saxophone player. He was in the Army in Special Forces. And when he came home, he later went back to Baltimore. But he eventually came up and lived at the house there after my grandmother had passed and stayed with my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And he was the one that remained at the house. I don't want to go into detail about how the house was lost, but taxes were not being paid.
Yeah, that's very common.
Yeah. And I was hoping to have that home and live in as I got older, but that didn't happen. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I got a picture from a neighbor who lives down the street where they had tore down the house. And it's just a lot. So now, speaking about the neighborhood, it was a mixed neighborhood. There were trees lying all up and down the block. It was a good block. I mean, you know, everybody was very, very cordial. Everybody knew the other kids' children. You know, it was a nice place to grow up. You know, schoolyard was right across the street from the house. We played baseball. I ended up playing Little League. My grandfather was like an appointed coach, so he would walk me to the games back and forth, because in that neighborhood, you know, that was a time when there were gang wars and things of that nature, and you couldn't go 2 blocks in any direction without being challenged by other gangs, and he protected me from that.
Wow, okay.
You lived there until you were 7, you said?
I know. I lived there till the 7th grade.
Oh, 7th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, your relationship with your mom, I'm sure you missed her a lot. I mean, how was it? How often was she home?
Well, she was always on the road. She was playing with Lockjaw at that time, Eddie Lockjaw Davis. And I remember as a baby, my mother used to rehearse with Lockjaw and Charlie Rice in the living room. And I was about 2. And I would sit next to Charlie Rice and watch him. And that's what inspired me to play drums, really wanted to play drums. I told my mom, I want one of those things that go like this. Because she bought me a Slingerland Radio King bass drum and a snare drum.
Right.
At that time, and she told me the price was like $200. When I got older, I told her I wanted a set of drums. She said, well, I have to make sure you can play.
Right.
And I played a 45 of Sly and the Family Stone, Sing a Simple Song. And I played with 2 combs in my hand on my lap. And she says, okay, well, if you get half of the money, I'll get half of the money. And I got half the money.
How'd you get it?
I don't remember, but I got it, you know. And I was about 16.
Okay.
So I was doing little odd jobs and things of that nature. And we went to Henry E. Glass music store downtown. And I got a nice Slingerland kit. And she picked out the cymbals. What else? She got me little cases for them and everything.
Okay.
And that's all it was. I went to Benjamin Franklin High School. I was in the stage band there for approximately 1 year. That was in 1968. And that was due to the breakup. You know, Stanley and my mom, they were having little issues. So I finally moved to Hallworth with the drum set.
Okay.
And I would rehearse in the garage all the time. From there, I went to Northern Valley Regional High School in Demorest, New Jersey, which was right like maybe a mile over the hill.
Right.
And I went into concert band and marching band, where I learned to read and all the other percussion instruments. And that helped me a lot.
Now, did you study with anybody like 111 during your high school or after high school?
After high school and after a year in college, I was always asking my mother about Philly Joe Jones. And I finally met Philly Joe, and Philly Joe was my mentor and basically my instructor for most of the time. Bobby Durham as well. You know, Philly Joe, at that time I was like making gigs and things, like $40 a night. Philly Joe was charging me $40 a lesson. And I'm saying, man, this is all my money. He says, okay, well, we'll have verbal concept lessons. And we used to walk up and down Ridge Avenue, and he would tell me how to solo, what to do in a solo. He says, when you solo, you play the song, and when you you play the song in your solo, and then you tell a story. Like, once upon a time, there were 3 bears, the mama bear, the papa bear, the baby bear, you know. And it really helped me a lot. He also gave me insight on how to recognize when I was overplaying, when I was underplaying. He told me, he says, when you have people leaning back when you're performing, you're overpowering them. And when you have them sitting upright, you know, they're listening. And when you have them leaning forward, you have their attention. Yeah.